It does show up. Yeah. Won't this be strange if no one shows? Come to think of it. All right. .5 o'clock. Okay. Well, to those of you who might watch this recording, there were only 5 students in the class. I think I may have added a 6th, but this first Zoom meeting was needing to happen a day before the term officially starts. I am going to be in a cabin in the woods in North Carolina through most of this week. So unlike the rest of the term, this week I may not be able to reach through email or anything but phone. I had planned to go through the syllabus, so I guess I can do that. At least get you introduced to the syllabus. Everything is left justifying all of a sudden. And let's see if we can fix that. Well, no worries. We'll just widen it out. Obviously, for an online class, office hours are meaningless, but this is what I list. This is an extension of Finance 6541, which all of you have had, where we take up additional topics actually in the same book. I'm providing you with my cell phone number, which you should use freely whenever you want to contact me about something. I doubt this is your first online class, so you know that you're going to have some type of computer access. You'll need a financial calculator, same ones you used at the undergraduate level or in Finance 6541, and HP 10B2 or BA2 Plus. A lot of the slides that are provided in the course give you the keystrokes for certain financial calculations. The book we're going to use is by Brigham and Kopensky, Financial Management Theory and Practice, 16th edition. This is what we just used for Finance 6541. The Moodle page that goes with this course is very important, extremely important. For instance, well, there's a copy of the syllabus, but this first week, we're only looking at one chapter, hybrid securities, specifically convertible bonds and bonds with warrants. And as you'll see in a minute when we go through the syllabus, this coming weekend, you will have individually have a quiz, an online quiz that will be a problem like one of those in the slides or assigned out of the book. You'll have 30 minutes to take the quiz. The way it works is you go to Moodle to see what the problem is, then you handwrite the solution on scratch paper, take a picture of it with your cell phone, and email it to me, and that is what I grade. Tanisha? Tanisha, can you hear me? Howdy. Can you hear me? Tanisha, you need to turn your volume up. Your volume up.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good, finally.
Yes, sorry, one second.
There are only 5 or 6 of you in this class, and this is the day before the term officially starts, so I didn't know if anyone would make it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what I plan to do was go through the syllabus, and then each week I will have sort of a shortened lecture to introduce you to the material of the week.
Okay.
But let's go through the syllabus first.
Okay.
Then what? Jagru Datta. Oh my God, my dad told me this, and I told you this, and they said this is a big.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. I'm hearing a lot of other activity in the background.
Oh, there's no one here. It's okay.
Okay. Why is this syllabus? Oh, well. Hang on here. There we go. Can you see something that's at the top says course syllabus?
Yes.
Okay, good. My name is Dr. Cudd. I'm your prof.
Okay.
Tanisha, have I taught you before?
Yes. Last year.
I figure it's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It was 2018.
Oh, golly, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of years. All right. I'm having trouble. There we go.
I can see it.
Okay. I don't even know if I'll be holding office hours this spring. They are toying with the idea of converting everything to online till the COVID-19 scare disappeared. But there is my cell phone number.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to call me or email me anytime you have a question.
Sure.
Okay, I'll make this brief. This is the book we'll use, of course.
Okay.
It's the same one we used earlier this spring and last fall.
Is it online?
6541.
Okay.
I think I'm hearing the background noise moving on here.
Oh, let me see.
It's okay for now, but later when we're holding these classes, there'll be several students trying to listen.
Okay, yeah.
Need to see if you can get in a quieter place when we do that.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. The way this works is this. We will cover usually 2 chapters a week.
Okay.
This week we're only covering 1. We're starting off light.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the Moodle page for the course,
Okay.
you'll see that this week, I don't know how to act. Here we go. Well, this week we're covering hybrid securities.
Yes.
Convertible bonds and bonds warrants.
Okay.
This coming weekend,
Mm-hmm.
Saturday and Sunday, you will have a 2-day window to take an online problem quiz
Okay.
to cover this material. And if I could get my pen to activate, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah, I see it there.
Yeah. Whoops, I went too far.
This first one.
Yeah, convertibles and warrants case quiz.
Okay.
You'll have a case assigned to look at this week. I actually give you, sorry, I'm not as good with this as I should be at this point.
No, it's fine.
Wait, if you look inside this folder,
Mm-hmm.
you'll find the case solution in PowerPoint.
Okay.
So you can go through it and it shows you how to work the case. You don't have to work the case, but you need to understand it.
Okay.
We'll also give you an Excel template.
Okay.
Let me see if I can turn this pen off. There you go.
Mhm.
Sorry, 1 second.
No problem.
I've got a whole new screen that's come up that I'm not used to seeing. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. I will put you in teams of 3 students each.
Okay.
I tell you what, that is a lot of noise in the background that you're in. Is
Oh.
there a quieter place you could move to? Are you
Yeah.
using a laptop or a desktop or?
I'm a desktop, but I'm using a laptop. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Is it quieter now?
Yes. By the
Okay.
way, do you have a camera?
Yes, I do. Is it not? Oh, I thought it was
I
on.
could see your image.
You can see me?
Not yet.
Oh, 1 second. Let me see.
Let me see. If we
Start video.
There
Now
you
you can see me. Oh, there I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
now
turned
you
off.
look familiar.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Back to what we were doing. Okay. On Moodle, you'll have PowerPoint files
Okay.
that are more extensive than what I will cover with you today.
Okay.
Today, for the Zoom meetings, I do a skeletal coverage just to introduce the students to the material.
Okay.
There are also recorded video lectures, YouTube lectures that I made a year or 2 ago. Same material. It's not perfectly synced with the current edition of the book
Okay.
or with the slides. The slides are based on the current edition of the book, but it's related closely enough that it's worth looking at.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Each weekend, you will work with 2 other students to complete a spreadsheet for the assigned case.
Okay.
If I could turn off this pen, I could open that up and show you.
I think you click on the pen and then you just click on the red button on the pen.
Interesting. Well, this is a Microsoft Surface, and not everything is working that way, but don't worry about it.
Okay.
Okay. You don't need to go through the problems in the book or in the slides for this weekend, but you will for the major exams.
Okay.
And I've posted the author's solutions to the
Okay.
problems out of the book
Okay.
when you start to study those. What you have in front of you immediately is the case.
Yeah.
A spreadsheet that and I'm going to put you in teams of 3 students each.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll email you after this meeting and you'll know who you're working with.
Okay.
Okay. As a team, you'll complete the spreadsheet, email it to me,
Mm-hmm.
and then individually over a 2-day window, Saturday and Sunday,
Yes.
you'll take a quiz on the case.
Okay.
And what I basically do is I change one of the values or parameters of the case
Mm-hmm.
and ask you to rework something you worked that was
Sure.
part of the original solution.
Oh,
For
okay.
instance, you might have been asked to find the value of a bond,
Mm-hmm.
and I may change the yield.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this Ask the Prof class, these are forums where you can post questions
Mm-hmm.
that other students or I can answer for you.
Okay.
Okay. And each week,
Mm-hmm.
you go through the same routine, only normally we cover 2 chapters a week.
Per week. Okay.
Yes, the 2 cases, actually, although, well, no, I take that back. 1 case, but 2 chapters.
For 2 chapters. Okay.
Okay. Now, back to the syllabus.
Mm-hmm.
I can find it.
There it is.
There it is. Okay. These are the team spreadsheet assignments with their due dates.
Okay.
If you'll notice, the very first one
Is March 15th.
is due next weekend. It's actually due by midnight Sunday night.
Okay.
1 member of your 3-person team
We'll submit it.
sends me the team Excel solution.
Okay.
Okay. And in Moodle, when you pull up the case, the Excel version of the case, it's really a spreadsheet where most of the work is done.
Okay.
You'll have a section called Inputs where you put in values from the case,
Mm-hmm.
and a section called Outputs where you put in Excel formulas.
Okay.
When your team sends the spreadsheet to me,
Mm-hmm.
I backtest it. I change some of the input values to see if those formulas produce the correct revised solution.
Okay.
Okay. Jumped on me. I forgot I've got a border going here. Well, there we go. And I give you a format to follow for the, as you'll notice, there will be a section that says inputs, you put values, constants in those.
Yeah.
In the output section, you put Excel formulas.
Okay.
Okay. And as I said, you'll have a quiz each week. It will be based on your understanding of the case. It'll be a problem, short problem. They're worth 5 points each. You take these individually.
Mm-hmm.
And in the quiz, I change up something, some value in the case, and ask you to recalculate something.
Okay.
You write out your solution, not in Moodle, but on a scratch sheet of paper.
Okay.
Use your cell phone to take a picture of it
Yeah.
and email that picture to me. That's what I grade.
Okay.
Okay. And you've got a 30-minute window to take the quiz. So I expect you to take the picture of your work right after you take the quiz and email it in.
Okay.
Okay. You'll have 2 major exams, a midterm and a final.
Okay.
And it's for those major exams that you study all the problems assigned out of the book and out of the slides. I have a lot of problems in the PowerPoint slides.
Problems. Like word problems?
You'll see in just a minute when we start with this.
Okay.
Okay, but yeah. And to take your, the major exams will also be on the weekend. You'll have 3 hours for the major exams. We'll talk about the major exams more
Mm-hmm.
next week. Normally, these Zoom meetings will be Monday night at 7 o'clock.
Monday night, 7 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah, and there should be 6 of you instead of just you.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
And I'll talk about the major exams then.
Okay.
However, the exams will need to be the major exams, not the weekly quizzes. The major exams will
Mm-hmm.
need to be proctored by
Okay.
you.
Proctor you, yes.
And I've given you some information in the syllabus.
About
on how
proctor
you
you.
contact them, yes.
Yes, I've already used it.
Their website. You'll need to
Okay.
register for the exam,
Okay.
but that's a few weeks away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Yes. Got it.
For the course, you've got a midterm and a final, and that final is actually going to be worth well, I said 105. I guess I'll leave it that way. The midterm's worth 100. The final's worth 105. I don't remember why. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
But the midterm and the final will be comprised of a bunch of problems like the ones out of the book and out of the
Okay.
slides, not case problems,
Okay. Yeah.
except for one thing. The last problem is an Excel spreadsheet like one of the cases.
Okay.
And all you'll do is for one of the cells in the spreadsheet,
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask you to give me the Excel formula
Okay.
to accomplish, to calculate that particular figure.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. And there's our tentative schedule.
Syllabus. Okay.
This week, convertibles and warrants.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I need to say about the syllabus. Did you get a copy of slides entitled "The First Zoom Meeting" or something like that?
Yes, it's on Moodle, I think. Are you talking about the Moodle slides? The one you have,
They're
the one
PowerPoint.
Yeah, the
I think
PowerPoint
I
on Moodle.
emailed those to you.
Let me check. I haven't seen it on the email. I saw it on Moodle. Could be on it. Let's see.
Moodle has the full PowerPoint slides, but I've got a condensed set that are for the Zoom meeting.
I don't have any attachment.
Okay.
Maybe before.
Give me 1 second and I'll email it to you.
Okay.
I'll try. Okay, let's go to Moodle.
Oh, no, I found it. Sorry, I found it. The file contents, yeah.
Okay.
It was in the previous email. Yes, I can see the PowerPoint.
Let's see if we can walk through those
Okay.
this week. There we go. All right, this first week's topic is hybrid securities, convertible bonds and bonds with warrants.
Okay.
Technically, they could also include preferred stock, but we don't talk about it much.
Okay.
Our problems are all based on bonds with attached warrants and convertible bonds.
Okay.
Best way to explain this is with a problem, just to jump in. Let's assume we have a company, like Corporation.
Okay.
They want to raise money by selling bonds, debt. They want to borrow.
Yes.
But by attaching warrants, they can sell the bonds with a lower coupon payment.
Okay.
Now, a warrant is like a stock option.
Okay.
If a bond investor buys these bonds and the stock rises a lot, really takes off, then they can exercise the warrants and make a good bit of money.
Okay.
And I'll show you how this works. The bonds themselves are 25-year bonds.
Mm-hmm.
They have a 4% annual pay coupon. We're going European style, annual coupon payments. Makes them
Okay.
a face value of $1,000.
Yeah.
And each bond has 20 warrants attached.
Okay.
And with each warrant, if you're the bond investor, you also own the warrants. You can turn the warrants into the company, and buy each warrant will allow you to buy a share of stock for $15.
Okay.
So if the market price of the stock has gone above 15, like $22 a share,
Mm-hmm.
then this is worth something.
Yeah.
You can buy the stock from the company at 15
It's
and
available.
sell it on the market at 22, if that's the case.
Yes.
If the stock price has gone up.
Okay.
The warrants don't last forever. They expire in 6 years.
Okay.
Now, if the company did not attach warrants,
Yeah.
then it would have to set its coupon rate at 4.5%
Okay.
to be able to sell the bonds at face value.
Yes.
So the whole idea behind attaching the warrants is to be able to pay a lower coupon rate. The bond investor gets the warrants and the chance to make a lot of money if the stock takes off.
Yes.
The company gets to pay a lower interest on the debt, lower coupon rate.
Okay.
Okay, lots of information, I know. So one of the first things we want to do is find out what these bonds would sell for, what the Blake bonds would sell for. If no warrants were attached, then they would have to yield 4.5%.
Oh, okay.
So without the warrants, let me go to my whiteboard for this, it's a lot more stable. Without warrants, these 25-year bonds could only pay $40 a year. That's the coupon payment.
Okay.
If they had to yield 4.5%,
4.45 yield. Okay.
like other bonds, then they'd be selling at a discount. They'd be selling at roughly 9.26. I'm going to round.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
But by attaching the warrants, they're able to sell them for $1,000.
Yes.
So the question is what is the value of the warrants? The warrant premium per bond is the difference between what they could sell them for with warrants and what
And it's 9.26.
they would sell without the warrants, right?
Yeah.
And that works out to about $74.
34. Yes.
Since there are 20 warrants attached to each bond,
So 74 times 20.
then, well, differently, the 74 is spread over.
Oh,
20.
yeah. Sorry. Divided by 20.
So the warrants are worth approximately, if I carry the math out, $371 a piece.
For warrant.
That's the initial value of the warrant,
Mm-hmm.
implied by the fact that the bonds can sell them with the warrants,
Okay.
and it would be 9.26 without them.
Yeah.
Now, another step in this process is to look at the stock.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, those warrants are not worth exercising. You would have to pay $15 a share for the stock if you buy it from the company. Right now, the stock is trading at $12.
$12 per stock. Yeah, it's lower than 15.
But the stock is expected to grow at 13% a year. So another good question is, what do we expect the stock price to grow to just before the warrants expire?
Mm-hmm.
How much would a bond investor gain from exercising those warrants just before they expire? And would the stock price have risen enough to make the warrants worth exercising? That is, would they be in the money? So the price of the stock in any year T would be the price now times 1 plus that growth rate raised to the T, where the T is a number of years.
Yeah.
We're interested in what that stock price would be in 6 years. Right now, it's trading at $12 a share, but we think it'll grow at 13% a year.
Okay.
So in 6 years, just shy of 6 years, we're forecasting the stock itself to be trading for, well, almost $25 per share.
Yeah.
Now, the exercise value per bond, if you had invested in these bonds, in each bond, you'd have 20 warrants.
Thanks.
And with each warrant, you could buy a share of stock from the company at the exercise price of 15. And we think it's going to be worth nearly 25 at that time in the market.
Okay.
So if you take your 20 warrants, buy 20 shares of stock at 15 that are worth nearly $10 more,
Mm-hmm.
that gives you an exercise value of nearly $200
Okay.
per bond.
Okay.
Would we expect the bondholder to exercise the warrants? If the stock price is 25 and they can buy the stock through the warrant from the company for 15, yeah, we
Yeah.
can expect them to exercise it and
Yeah.
not just let the warrants expire.
Yeah.
Key thing is, though, they have to do it just before 6 years are up, because if they wait the full 6 years, the warrants are null and void. They expire.
Okay.
So Blake Corporation is forecasting that in 6 years,
This will be the price.
they're going to lose, in a sense, around $200 per bond. They're going to have to provide stock worth 25
Mm-hmm.
to the warrant holders and only get $15 a share for it. So for the company, that's a loss. Or now,
Okay.
let's don't call it a loss. We'll call it a cash outflow. For Blake Corporation.
Okay.
You with me on this so far?
Yes.
Okay. So for Blake Corporation, what we would like to do
Mm-hmm.
is to estimate the cash flows we expect with each bond. Now let's assume that, let me see if you have this. You do, good. Let's assume Blake Corporation's tax bracket is 20%.
Okay. So after tax.
Yeah, you don't have this slide, so I need to make this one up. Actually, no, you don't. Okay. So from Blake Corporation's viewpoint, these bonds at T equals 0, they sell the bonds, they get 1,000. Then for 25 years, they're going to have to pay interest, but the interest is tax deductible. So their coupon payment per bond, because it's fully tax deductible, instead of the full $40, they'll be able to deduct 20% of that $40 expense, and that saves some taxes.
Okay.
So after tax, the coupon payments would be 32.
Okay.
And they'll make those payments for 25 years, but in addition, in year 6, they also expect that cash outflow from exercise of the warrants. Then for the remaining years, the coupon payments, and then in the last year, the coupon payment, and they have to pay the redemption value of the bond.
Okay.
Okay. So really what they expect to have to do is make the coupon payments all 25 years.
Yes.
Also have a cash outflow associated with exercise of the warrants in year 6. And then when the bonds mature, they have to pay the face value.
Okay.
So from Blake's viewpoint, those are the cash flows associated with the bond. They get 1,000. After taxes, they pay 32 a year for 25 years, roughly an extra 200 in year 6, and then 1,000 in year 25 when the bonds mature.
Yeah.
So a big question is, what is the rate of return they're paying on the bonds? Or another way to say it, what is the after-tax cost of this funding? Look at it this way. If you went to a bank and borrowed $1,000 and you had to pay back 32 a year for 25 years, plus an extra 200 in year 6, plus 1,000 in year 25, what interest rate would the bank be charging you on the loan? That's what we call the after-tax cost of bonds with warrants. And your author uses the symbol R sub I, comma W.
Okay.
R sub I has always been the symbol for the after-tax cost of debt. But this is not straight debt, this is debt with warrants. So we give it a little extra symbol. When you run this through your calculator, you'll find this turns out to be 4.22%. Now, which calculator do you have? Do you have the BA2 Plus, the HP 10B2? Do you know which financial calculator you have? Or do you have one yet?
Okay.
Your image, okay, your image
I have
froze.
to be a 2 plus.
BA2 Plus? Okay. Here are the keystrokes that you would follow with that. You'd put in 1,000, then a negative 32 for 5 years. And that's the total in year 6 of 32 and the 199.67 would be 231.67. And in the final year, you'd make a coupon payment and the face value. So that total would be 1,032. If you try those keystrokes with your calculator
Okay.
and hit IRR compute, it should give you an interest rate of 4.22%.
Okay.
Think of that as the minimum required rate of return on this source of funding.
Okay.
Your author would call it the component cost of this source of funding. McCall, I think I've got another guest. Hang on one second. Yeah.
Hello, Professor.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I hope you remember me.
I do. I do. I didn't
I
remember
just got this class for you.
until I saw your faces. And then I thought, ah, yes.
Yeah.
Well, where are you two? Are you each in the States?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here in Mississippi only.
Ah, in Tunisia?
I'm also in Mississippi.
Okay. Well, look, I get students from all over the world in these international classes, so I never know.
Oh, cool.
Okay. But I should have guessed that because I've already taught you. Here. All right, what were we doing? Here we go. Those are the keystrokes for the BA2 Plus.
Read
If
the
you
question.
have the HP 10B2, those are the keystrokes, and they give you the same answer, of course. So, one of the things we want to do, if we're Blake Corporation and we're going to sell bonds with warrants, is to estimate what it will cost us. That is, what's the minimum required rate of return we need to earn on that money to cover its cost. And that's what the 4.22% is. Think of it as the component cost of this source of funding. Now, with our estimates, we need to perform some checks to see if it makes sense. For instance, I'm flipping back and forth between the slides I gave you and the ones I have with some extra help for me. If an investor, a bond investor, bought the bond, what would be the rate of return to the bond investor? Are you guys both there?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. For the bond investor, a lot of it would look the same, except the signs would change and it would not be after tax. Sorry, a little slow with this. That didn't click. The bond investor's view. Sorry, guys, this thing's jumping around on me.
No problem.
The bond investor would, let's do it this way. The bond investor would pay $1,000. And get the full coupon payment of $40.
Okay.
Every year for the 25 years. Plus, the bond investor in year 6 would get that extra bonus from exercising the warrants. I forget, it was 67, I think it was. And when the bond matures, the bond investor would get $1,000. So the bond investor's rate of return and we would call that R sub D, comma W, or the before tax cost of debt, would be based on these cash flows. The bond investor would pay $1,000, get back 40 a year for 25 years, roughly an extra 200 in year 6, an extra 1,000 in year 25.
Yes.
So the question is, what rate of return would that provide to the bond investor? And that works out to be, I got 5.06%. If you were to do this with your calculator, these are the keystrokes.
Okay.
With the BA2 Plus or with the HP 10B2, whichever calculator you're using. And we would also want to know, what is the rate of return for an investor that solely invests in a warrant? You know, warrants trade like stock. They're separate from the bonds. If you buy a bond with warrants, you can detach the warrants and sell them separately.
Okay.
You could contact your broker and buy warrants. So we want to see what the rate of return would be to someone that bought the warrant let's say they bought it for its, what was our theoretical value earlier, 371, I think. Yeah. What if they bought the warrant for 371, held it for 6 years, and then exercised it? Sorry about all the flipping around here. That would give them an exercise gain of almost $10. Pardon me, almost 15. No. 10.
Almost 10.
Yeah, give me a second to catch up with you. And I'm getting 17.9%, I believe. So that would be the return solely on a warrant to a warrant investor. The reason we want to look at all of these different return figures is to see if they all are rational. I'm going to jump around just a little bit. I'm skipping something. I'll come back to it. So we're looking at 4 types of securities. Straight bonds, which would be the safest. Bonds with warrants are sort of a mix of bonds and equity. So they're a little bit higher in risk. Stock is even higher in risk, and pure warrants are the riskiest. So we would expect a hierarchy where the return on straight bonds was less than the return on bonds with warrants. I think we found the return on straight bonds.
Mhm.
Sorry about that. One of the bad things about using PowerPoint. All right. That worked. One of the bad things about using PowerPoint, if you have formula generator in there, and I do, is it's hard to write on the slides. They're unstable, but let's see. There we go. Bonds without warrants would yield 4.5. With warrants, we think to the investor more than that. Pure stock, even more.
With warrants.
And then with pure warrants, even more.
Yeah.
Let me get rid of that. That should irritate me. There. And for this all to make sense, we at least have to have this hierarchy of returns where when we move to riskier securities, we see a higher return for the investor. Otherwise, we've made a false assumption somewhere. Think of this as a sanity check, I guess. Now, another question I skipped, but it's in a prior slide. What's the lowest return that a bondholder could get if the warrants don't pan out? What if you buy a bond with attached warrants and the stock never goes up? So the warrants end up being worthless.
Yes.
What would be the rate of return if you pay face value for a bond that has a 4% coupon rate?
Mm-hmm.
Then your return would be the coupon rate.
Oh, okay.
If you pay $1,000 for, let me see if I can get rid of that little sucker. There. If you pay $1,000 for a bond and the warrants never turn out to be worth anything, then the coupon rate will be also your rate of return if you pay face value. So the lowest possible return for the bond investors with warrants would be 4%, of course, unless the company goes bankrupt.
Yes.
But it is something else they will consider when they buy the bonds.
Uh-huh.
All right, are you with me on this so far?
Yes, I am with
Bonds
you.
with warrants are the tricky part. What I'm about to cover, the convertible bonds, that's the easy part.
Yes, I guess they're convertible to stock. They can be converted to stock.
Yeah. Why do companies that want to raise money by debt, by selling bonds, why do they attach warrants? That allows them to sell the bonds at face value with a lower coupon rate.
Okay,
They make lower interest payments on the debt.
that's why.
Okay. Now, convertible bonds. Whoops. Sorry. Watch some companies sell bonds that are convertibles, that are convertible into stock. Same reason.
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume another possible source of funding for Blake is to sell convertible bonds. These bonds would have a 30-year maturity, a 3.5% coupon rate.
Okay.
They would sell at par. They'd sell for $1,000.
Okay.
Each bond would be convertible into 50 shares of stock.
Yeah.
And all convertible bonds are also callable.
Mm-hmm.
These bonds are callable in 5 years for a call price of $1,040.
Okay.
Here's the thing, from the bond investor looks at the convertible bonds and thinks it's the best of both worlds.
Yes.
They get some interest, but if the stock really takes off, they can convert their bond into 50
stock.
shares of stock, and there's no limit to how much money they can make.
Yes.
Okay. Same company, so it's in the same tax bracket, 20%.
Mm.
If they tried to sell these 30-year bonds with a 3.5% coupon rate,
Mm-hmm.
they would have to sell to provide a yield of 4.8%,
Okay.
which means they would have to be sold at a discount. Not sure if this is your next slide. Yeah, let's skip this for the moment. All right, what would the Blake bond be worth if not convertible? In other words, what if they tried to sell these bonds
Mm-hmm.
30-year bonds, with an annual coupon payment of $35, 3.5% of 1,000. If they had to yield 4.8%, if they're not convertible, they'd have to offer the yield of comparable bonds of this risk. So they'd sell at a big discount. And that discounted price would be slightly less than 800.
Yes.
795.52.
So by being able to make them convertible, they'll sell at 1,000. So a good question is, what is that conversion premium worth? Well, they get to
Minus
sell the bond for almost $200 more.
795. Yeah.
Yeah,
244.48.
yeah, 204.48, a little over 205, little less than $205.
Yes.
So that's what the conversion premium is worth. Now we're dealing with the same company, the same stock.
Hmm.
It's selling right now at $12 a share. It's expected to grow at 13% per share per year.
Okay.
So a really good question is, now's where I back up. When is it these bonds become callable? 5 years?
Yeah.
If the stock really takes off, it's exempt from call for 5 years. But after then, Blake Corporation could force the bondholder to sell the bonds back to Blake for $1,040. So if it turns out the stock climbs enough that in 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
the converted shares are worth more than $1,040, the bondholders will convert. So one of the things we want to do is find out what would the convertible value of the bond be just before it becomes callable. Sorry about all the paper flipping and pauses. What would the stock price be? What would the
It's just
converted value of the shares be per bond? And we're also going to look again at the cash flows from Blake's viewpoint. So the value of the stock in 5 years would be that $12 it's trading for now, growing at 13% for 5 years. We think that stock would be worth sorry guys, again, the pauses.
no
I'm getting
problem.
22.11 a share.
At this point, yeah, 22.11.
And how many shares does each convertible bond convert into?
50.
50. So the conversion value just before the bonds would be convertible would be
50 times 22.11.
yeah. And I'm getting 1105 and change. Now, if you bought the bond and the stock climbed 13% a year, and you look at the bond and converted into shares, it's worth over 1,100.
Yeah.
But if you don't convert, the company will buy it back, force you to sell it back for, what was it, 1,040?
1,040.
Yeah. Would you convert?
Yes.
Yes. In fact, that's what's called forced conversion. The whole idea that the convertible bond decision is up to the bondholder is an illusion. Companies make them callable to force the bondholders to convert. Now, from Blake's view, and this time we can just work it with we don't even have to go to the CF key. From Blake's view, they expect the bonds to be converted in 5 years.
Okay.
They're going to sell them for face value, 1,000.
Yeah.
They're going to make those coupon payments But again, they're tax deductible. So after tax, it would be 35 times 1 minus the tax rate, or $28.
Okay.
So every year, Blake would pay 28. That takes care of all 5 years of coupon payments. And then they would have to give them stock worth
11.
the converted
I
value.
see. Yes, the future value.
50.
Right. So the question is, what interest rate would they be paying on the convertible bonds? And I'm coming up with 4.72%. And that's what the author would call the cost of convertible bonds, the after-tax cost of convertible bonds. If they went to a bank and borrowed $1,000, had to pay $28 a year for 5 years, plus $1,105 in the 5th year, the interest rate on the loan would be 4.72%. So that's the hurdle rate, the component cost of convertible bonds. If they raise money from this source, that's the rate of return they have to earn after taxes to cover its cost.
Okay.
You with me on this so far?
Yes.
All right, I think I've got room to squeeze this in. We also want to do a reality check with convertible bonds. So we want to see what these things look like from the bond investor's view. Now, for the bond investor, they expect to invest for 5 years. They're going to pay $1,000. They'll get $35 a year in coupon payments,
Okay.
plus
1040.
that conversion value.
Oh, that much. Yeah.
So for the bond investor, and we call that the before tax
Before tax.
cost of convertible bonds,
Yeah.
that's 5.39%.
Okay.
And we do all of this to see if the values make sense.
Okay.
So we do what we did before. We line up the different possible sources of funding from the safest to the riskiest
Mm-hmm.
to see if the figures make sense. Straight bonds would have to yield, there it goes again. Sorry. Straight bonds would,
What happened?
I don't know. Hang on.
You
Okay.
exited the share screen.
Okay. Be that way. Okay, I went too far. I'm going to handwrite this just so it won't trick me again. The safest thing would be straight debt. Then from the investor standpoint, convertible bonds, and then straight stock.
And then warranties.
Straight debt would have to yield 4.8%. Remember, comparable risk bonds that were not convertible were yielding 4.8.
Okay.
Our convertible bonds are expected to
4.72.
yield a little more. And they should, because they're like a mix of debt and equity, so they're a little riskier. And then, of course, the stock is expected
4.72.
to grow at 13%.
13%.
I read about this. There's some blogs about the problems with trying to write on PowerPoint slides where you've used the equation generator. You have to go really slow and careful. All right. Gone. Okay. Do we have the rational trade-off between risk and return? Yeah.
Yeah.
As we go to riskier securities, the return goes up.
It goes up, yeah.
If it didn't, we'd know we'd made some kind of stupid assumption somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, we have two sources of funding for our company.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. One source they could use is bonds with warrants. And we figured out the component cost of that would be 4.22%. Or they could go with convertible bonds, but the component cost of that was
Or
0.72. This is like an interest rate they're paying on debt. If you borrow money, which rate do you want to pay? The higher rate or the lower?
lower.
The lower. So based purely on these costs, that would be the preferred source
Yeah.
due to the lower cost. Now, what I didn't get into, and you'll see as you go through the PowerPoint slides and the videos, the YouTube videos, they'll talk about the different features of these.
Okay.
For instance, if you sell bonds with warrants, when the warrants are exercised, it doesn't erase the debt. They still have to keep paying interest on bonds and pay them off.
Oh, okay.
But when you sell convertible bonds and the bondholders convert their
Okay.
bonds into stock, it erases the debt.
And they actually get returns on the stock.
Yeah, when the shareholders turn in their bonds and swap them for shares of stock, by turning in their bonds, the debt's gone.
Yeah.
There are advantages to each source of funding, and that's not what I typically get into with this little intro chapter. But what you have just seen, what I've just walked you through, is the heart of what you need for the case.
Okay.
And it's the heart of the problems that are in this chapter.
Okay.
Okay. We'll adjourn in a minute if you guys don't have other questions. But then I will email. There's 6 of you, actually.
Okay.
And usually more will show up for these meetings, but this meeting is being recorded.
Okay.
When we finish, I'll get the recording. Well, I won't get it till late tonight. I'll convert it to a YouTube video. And on the Moodle page, I'll post the link for the video. So even the students that didn't attend, like you two did, can look at the video and see the whole meeting, or you can look at it again if you want to go through it.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you really have two sets of videos. One video will be this meeting we're holding, a Zoom meeting, if you want to call it that. And the other will be the video lectures I've made that go into more depth and all the little details. But really, this is the heart of what you need to know.
Yeah.
You'll get an email from me. I'll put you in teams of 3 each. 6 students, 2 teams.
Okay.
As a team, you look at the case, look at the solution, and then look at the Excel spreadsheet I've provided and finish filling out the spreadsheet. Where it says inputs, you put numbers, constants. Where it says outputs, you put Excel formulas. Then somehow among the 3 of you on your team, one person will send me the Excel spreadsheet. It will be due midnight Sunday night. Then individually, this coming weekend, you'll have a 2-day window, Saturday and Sunday. It starts 6 a.m. Saturday, closes midnight Sunday, to take an online quiz on the case. Like what I've worked here. What if in the case, what if I change one thing? I say instead of comparable bonds that are not convertible yielding 4.8, what if I change that to 4.2%? And then I ask you to calculate some of these things again. I might ask you to calculate the conversion premium, what the bond would sell for if not convertible, if it's yielding this, and then how much the difference is between that and $1,000 it can sell for. But I'll change one of the inputs and then ask you to calculate something we just calculated.
Okay.
But you have to read and understand the case, and it looks like you need a nap too.
Yeah. I'm sleepy. But
Okay,
I
guys,
got it.
any questions?
Professor, I have a problem related to the teams. Actually, last time when I attended this class, I have to drop it because I'm not able to, like, I won't be able to meet anyone in person because I live real far from Clinton.
You don't have to meet anybody in this technology, age of technology.
Yeah, because last time I had a different professor and he got me into teams, and the other 2 people, they were like, they want to meet in person. So they, like, over the night near about, I guess, finals, they kicked me out of the team and I lost all my marks.
Okay.
So this time I would love to be alone, but I don't want to be in teams for that reason.
One of the good guidelines for online teaching is to force students to work with each other in teams. Just like one of the good guidelines is to keep you engaged by giving you quizzes and assignments each week. Another guideline is to have you work together.
Okay.
And I'm lazy. I'd rather grade 2 spreadsheets than 3.
I think most people will be in online teams. It should be fine.
I don't want
Tanisha,
the same people like last time.
Tanisha
That's
and
what I'm
McCall.
afraid of.
It's not McCall. I'm calling you by your last name. I'm sorry.
No
Mahi.
problem.
What are you
Yeah.
going?
My real name is Megha, but it's showing Mahi over there. That's my nickname. But in
Mahi,
class, it will show Megha over there.
is it
So
all
don't
right
confuse
if I
me with
address
someone
you as
else.
Mahi?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to, Tanisha, would you two like to be sure the two of you are together on the team?
I don't mind. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
fine.
mind. With her, I can like we can compromise with
Yeah.
each other. We can-
I
Okay,
can do
I
video
tell you
calling
what,
and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll pick a third student that I know is good. Throw him in with you guys. How's that?
Sure. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you,
good.
Professor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr.
You
Cudd.
will get an email from me in a matter of minutes
Okay.
showing you who your teammates are, giving you their emails. Throughout the week, as a team, you work on the case spreadsheet. And then one of the three of you turn it in to me by Sunday night.
Sure.
Okay.
Definitely.
And then individually, you'll have a quiz next weekend on the case.
Okay.
Where you work a problem by hand. You go to Moodle to see which quiz you draw. What I have in Moodle, for instance, for convertible bonds and bonds with warrants, I have a big pool of problems. So when you pull up your quiz, it randomly grabs one problem.
Oh, so it's not the same
You won't have the same problem.
as others. Okay.
You could sit down next to each other and
And
you
not have the
have
same.
different problems because
And
it's a
not
random
cheat.
number generator, okay?
Okay.
But you work the problem on scratch paper.
Okay.
Then take a picture of it and
Okay.
email it to me, and that's what I grade.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't, all you use Moodle for is to look at the quiz. You don't have to enter anything else into Moodle.
Okay.
Moodle will not grade your quiz. You'll put it on scratch paper. And that's what
That
I'll
will grade the quiz. Okay.
Mahi, you okay with the
Yeah, I'm good.
cool. I will check with the others, but I've got one guy in mind I think you'd really like to work with, but he may already just have decided to team up with somebody else. But the two of you, I think, will work well together anyway, but I'll get you a third one. Any other questions before we adjourn?
I'm good.
Oh, you're good.
If you have them, email me.
Okay.
Best way to reach me. But keep in mind, unlike the rest of the term, this is my spring break. That's why I'm letting my face grow.
Oh yeah, you're leaving tomorrow.
I'm going to be in a cabin in the woods in North Carolina, and I don't even know if they'll have internet.
That's okay.
You're
But
gonna enjoy yourself.
You've only got one chapter this week.
Yeah.
All right, guys, if you have nothing else, we'll call it a night. What do you think?
I think that sounds good.
All right. Bye-bye, y'all. Have a good
Thank you. You
Thank you,
too. Have a
Professor.
good break. Bye.